Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 4.
More than 1 million Kentuckians are expected to make their voices heard in today's election. We'll check in with the candidates in Kentucky's most expensive race in history. Also, Kentucky isn't the only state with a closely watched race. We'll show you some states with hot-button issues on the ballots, including the politics of pot.
Clouds are rolling into the Bluegrass State. Rain not too far behind, but I'm tracking several big cold blasts that will come after the rain in just a moment.
Welcome to WKYT News at 4. I'm Jennifer Palumbo. It's a warm and windy election day. Enjoy these 60-degree temperatures because they'll be gone after today. This is a live look at Triangle Park in downtown Lexington, where it's in the mid-60s this afternoon. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has a first look at the forecast. And Chris, what a nice day.
Yeah, it really is. You know, you saw the ice rink there in downtown Lexington opening up, I believe, this weekend, and right on cue, we're going to really chill it down. Nothing chilly about our election day as advertised. A lot of wind and a lot of mild temperatures into the 60s. Our live sky cam showing some clouds that are beginning now to increase, and those are ice crystal clouds. Temperatures out ahead of a cold front well into the 60s into most of central and eastern Kentucky. Generally low and mid 60s, couple of upper 60s across far southern Kentucky. Now, live first alert defender not picking up on precipitation locally, though a couple of showers getting as close by as the Louisville metro area. Steady rains are still several hours away into parts of western Kentucky. There's a wave of low pressure developing along this boundary that will be on top of us as we go into the second half of tomorrow. So those warm winds that we have out there today getting ready to become a thing of the past. When I come back in a little bit, Jennifer, not only am I tracking the rain, but I've got a lot of cold air that is on the way into that 7-day forecast just minutes from now.
Thank you, Chris. In a few hours, the polls will close in Kentucky and the vote counting will begin. The Secretary of State's office predicts 49% or 1.5 million registered voters will cast their ballots today. The race getting the most attention is the U.S. Senate race featuring Senator Mitch McConnell and Democrat Allison Lundergan Grimes. We have team coverage of that race. We begin with Sean Moody, who's with the Grimes campaign. It's our top story at 4. Sean?
Well, for Allison Lundergan Grimes supporters, the Carrick House here in downtown Lexington will be the place to be tonight. She'll be here watching the results come in while her supporters gather on the front lawn. Grimes' day started pretty early. She voted around 7:30 this morning, then went to Mass with her family before going to official meetings with the Board of Elections. This marks the last step of a 16-month journey. Grimes announced her candidacy last summer. Since then, she's had support from some high-profile names. Former President Bill Clinton has come to Kentucky several times, including once here at the Carrick House. His wife, former First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, has also made some trips here to Kentucky to support Grimes. Now, Grimes and McConnell have traded the lead back and forth since the race began. The most recent WKYT Herald Leader Bluegrass poll showed McConnell with a 5-point lead over Grimes, but Grimes said this morning she expects Kentuckians to surprise the nation. Now, we haven't seen any of the numbers coming out this afternoon yet, but we're staying on top of things and we'll bring you updates as we get them. Live in Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Thank you, Sean. And Senator Mitch McConnell is in his hometown of Louisville waiting for the polls to close. He's hoping for a victory party at a Louisville hotel. WKYT's Phil Pendleton continues our Election Day top story team coverage. Phil?
Mitch McConnell and his team of Team Mitch supporters are gathered here at the Marriott Hotel off of Firstborn Lane in Louisville, waiting for what they hope will be a victory party in a couple of hours. They are joined by news media from literally around the world that are gathered here to find out what happens. Now, I was there this morning along with a throng of media waiting for McConnell and his wife Elaine Chao to cast their ballots. Hordes of television and still motion cameras followed McConnell as he and his wife left a black SUV and made their way into the Bellarmine College precinct. They were there for just a couple of minutes, but more than 20 members of the National Press Corps followed him around. McConnell said very little as he was leaving, only that he hoped that there would be a Republican majority in the Senate when the night is over. And of course, we will be here as the votes are cast, and we will be bringing you the results as we find them out. For now in Louisville, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Thank you, Phil. And across the country, people aren't just voting for candidates on this election day. In some states, they face choices on a variety of hot-button issues, from marijuana to the minimum wage. Karen Kafa looks at some of the most talked about initiatives and why voters are being asked to weigh in during this particular midterm cycle.
Hot races, superstar surrogates, congressional power on the line. It's still usually not enough to draw voters to midterm polls. Tuesday's turnout will likely come in around 40% of eligible voters. That's why some states put some hot button issues on their ballots, like the politics of pot. In Florida, a medical marijuana initiative is seen by some political observers as a vehicle to get Democratic-leaning voters out to vote for Charlie Crist, who's in a tight race with incumbent governor Republican Rick Scott. Voters in Alaska, Oregon, and the District of Columbia face decisions on legalizing recreational marijuana. If approved, they'd join Colorado and Washington state and perhaps set the stage for more initiatives.
This feels like a set of dominoes, and once the first couple fall, we'll see them fall in a number of other states.
Less than 2 weeks after a school shooting in Washington state, voters there are weighing competing gun control initiatives. One would expand background check requirements. The other prohibit checks more stringent than the federal government's. And measures to raise the minimum wage also appear on multiple ballots. While Democrats have led the charge on the issue, 4 Republican-leaning states, Alaska, Arkansas, Nebraska, and South Dakota, could approve state measures as congressional efforts have stalled. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
We're working on a number of other stories for you on this election day on WKYT starting at 4:30. Sam Dick is in the newsroom with a look at some of the news in progress. Good afternoon, Sam.
Good afternoon, Jennifer. The 2 men looking to lead the city of Lexington made their votes count this morning. In the last fundraiser quarter, incumbent Jim Gray raising 4 times as much cash as a challenger, former police chief Anthony Beatty. For the past year, Lexington's race for mayor centered on things like the renovation of Rupp Arena and public safety. Coming up on WKYT News at 4:30, we'll have more on the Lexington race for mayor. Candidates for Kentucky's 6th congressional district cast their votes this morning. Congressman Andy Barr voting at 7:45 this morning at Morton Middle with his wife Carol. Challenger Elizabeth Jensen voting around 10:30 at Mount Olivet Church on Delaware Avenue. You'll hear from Barr and Jensen coming up on WKYT News at 5:30. A safety alert has been issued for Central Kentucky College after a woman was reportedly attacked on campus. Berea College Public Safety said it happened around 11 o'clock Sunday night. A female student says she was walking back to her residence hall when a masked man approached and threatened her with a knife. Coming up on WKYT News at 5:30, or rather 5 o'clock, you'll hear from Berea Police, who say this is a reminder to take extra precaution when walking around at night. That's a look at some of the news in progress. Jennifer, back to you.
Thanks, Sam. Now to stories making headlines across the nation at 4. A United Nations panel on climate change says evidence that the Earth is warming is unequivocal. The panel also says greenhouse gases from cars, power plants, and factories are to blame. Unless something is done to reduce emissions, the panel warns of severe, pervasive, and irreversible impacts. This is the strongest language the group has ever used when talking about global warming. President Barack Obama has signed a disaster declaration for a lava flow threatening a town in Hawaii. The lava flowing from Kilauea volcano on Hawaii's Big Island has slowed down, but the damage has already been done. The president's declaration paves the way for federal aid, and that federal money will supplement state and local recovery efforts.